One day, I came home and found that my husband had disappeared and left without a trace. A few days later, I found out that him and my sister had eloped. That was 12 years ago. He recently contacted me on the phone, stating, "I'm coming to my home with my wife, and you are in my way. Get out of my parents' house." He was annoyed that I was living at his parents' house. It's been 12 years since they eloped, and I guess he intends to take my sister as his wife now that things have cooled down. But they don't know. They don't know how drastically the family, including myself, have changed since then. My name is Melanie Miller, and I am 27 years old. I studied and majored in web design and started to work in a web production company. That's where I met my husband, Shane. Shane works in the sales department for the company and is friendly by nature. His charm swept me in, and we got married shortly after a year of dating. Once I was a part of the family, we decided to live together in his parents' home. By then, I quit my job at the web production company and started work as a freelance web designer. I decided to work from home so that I could keep up with my household and support my husband's lifestyle. At first, I had some trouble finding work, so my income wasn't stable. Now, however, I have no trouble finding work and maintaining a stable income. I could work at my own pace and put my family first. I could spend quality time with my husband and his family during the mornings, evenings, and even before bedtime. I was so satisfied with life. However, I noticed that my husband started to change his friendly attitude, little by little. It all started when I started to make twice the amount of money compared to what I was making 2 months prior at my old job. I was ecstatic to have reached and surpassed my salary that entire day. I couldn't wait to tell my husband when he came home from work. He's going to be so happy for me, I thought to myself. As soon as I knew he was home, I ran up to the front door with a huge grin on my face. "Shane, guess what? My income last month was twice the amount that I would have made at my last job." "What? Are you serious? Your last job had great benefits and pay, right?" "Yeah, but I've been wanting more. I finally did it." Yep. "That's it? What? You want me to throw you a party?" My husband was being unusually sarcastic and negative. I didn't know where the attitude was coming from, so I asked, "Shane, are you mad at me for something? Did I do something wrong? I genuinely thought that you'd be happy for me." "Why would I be happy? It's not like my salary went up." "Well, yeah, but can't you just be happy for your wife?" "Really? I'm not like you. I'm just not a naturally happy person." "Shane?" After that fight, my husband became more distant and indifferent day by day. Our daily conversations decreased until eventually it was only me that greeted him good morning and good night first. Even though we were only a year into marriage, we were far from happily married. My in-laws, whom we lived with, started to notice the tension and they began to worry, but they never said anything. 2 months went by and the relationship was still the same. We ate our meals together, but sat in silence. He'd switch the channel when I was in the middle of watching something and would eat all of the food in the house that I'd buy without asking for permission. Whenever I tried to confront him, he'd argue with me, so I just kept it to myself. Then finally, one day, I was cleaning the house, and my mother-in-law came up to me looking anxious. "Melanie, how are you? Are you okay?" "What do you mean, am I okay?" "Well, when you and Shane first got married, you both used to go out and enjoy spending time together. But lately, it seems like you don't do much of that anymore. And you don't even talk, and..." "Yeah, but we've only been married for a year," I replied. But it was strange. I forced a smile back at her so that she knew not to worry, but she saw right through my smile. She looked at me with a straight face. "If you don't want to talk about it, I won't make you. But I worry about you, and lately I feel like you've been down." "Well, I'm not faking anything." "Well, your father notices it too. Him and I are just worried that you might be overwhelming yourself." "Oh, Mother." Honestly, it probably was my fault that my husband was uncomfortable with me earning more. But on the other hand, I also felt alone in my accomplishment. And in the moment, I was so happy that she finally acknowledged and noticed the pain I was in. It brought tears to my eyes. So I decided to tell her everything. After listening to what I had to say, she started to rub my back and responded, "I am so sorry on behalf of him. He is not man enough to sincerely be happy for you and your success." No, it's my fault. It was selfish of me to think that he would have genuinely been happy for me. But that's something you shouldn't have to worry about in a marriage, Melanie. And if you keep your feelings in about this, it will only make it worse. I don't think it could get any worse. Okay, so the two of you need to seriously talk about this. Can you do that? Yes, I can. Thank you for listening to me, Mom. She smiled back at me. Of course. And then she patted my head. My in-laws love me as if I were their own daughter. They saved me. With her advice in mind, I decided to have a proper conversation with my husband. That night, I stayed up waiting for my husband to come home. However, there was no sign of his return no matter how many hours went by. Normally, he'd be home by 10 at the latest, but it was already past 11 that night. "What's taking you so long?" I texted him, but he didn't reply. Maybe something's wrong. I attempted to call him, but the phone would only ring and he didn't pick up, so I kept anxiously waiting. About midnight, he finally came home. "Welcome home," I said, but he sighed loudly and looked at me annoyed. "What are you doing? Why are you up this late?" "Well, I wanted to have a serious conversation with you today." "About what?" he answered annoyingly. "This all started between us because of my new salary, right? I mean, I probably should have kept that to myself. I'm sure it hurt your ego." As soon as I said that, a chill ran through me. There he was, in front of me, with a cold look on his face. I was frozen in fear. He replied hatefully, "There's nothing to talk about, and it's pathetic that you're waiting up for me to come home." "I'm trying to have a better relationship with you, Shane." "That's the problem, clearly. I made a mistake in finding the right partner." "No. I'm tired from working overtime. You don't get to talk because all you do is sit around at home all day." My husband stormed past me and went upstairs to the room. I couldn't get myself to move until I was sure he was fully upstairs. Why was he even talking to me like that? I just want to live a normal, married life. My mother-in-law had given me the push that I needed, but nothing had been resolved. Regardless, I don't want to push another conversation with him after that attitude. I felt like he completely invalidated me as a person, so my heart grew bitter. 2 more months went by, and we didn't talk. The days were long, and they passed by in a daze. That was when I came home one day and found that my husband was gone. I looked in his room and had a weird feeling. I thought, what? Shane's room is never clean. Shane is not a clean and tidy person, to say the least, but his room was surprisingly clean. The clothes in his closet and his suitcase were gone. I finally realized that he moved out of the house. I rushed to call my in-laws, but their phone was either turned off or disconnected. My sister Mimi then called me while I was still panicking. "Hi, sis. Long time no see." "Mimi, I can't talk right now." "Your husband isn't there, is he?" "What? How did you know that?" How did she know that? Something's not right here, and she proceeded to tell me the truth. "I'm with your husband right now." "What? What do you mean?" "Well, I was just at the bar, and I saw him there, coincidentally. We had a drink, and then he said you guys weren't really getting along." "Mimi, no! You can't be." "I am dating him, and we're going away to get married, so don't try and stop me." "Going away? Don't be silly. Bring Shane back home now." I'm sorry, I can't. I've actually had these feelings for a while now. Plus, he's tall and handsome. I'll take him. Then, the phone went silent. I tried to call her back so many times, but she never answered. Instead, she sent me pictures. There were dozens of photos of them together, going on dates, smiling. Either way, it was not something I enjoyed looking at. A few days later, I received his signed and completed divorce papers. I called his job, but they told me he'd already resigned. I knew that I didn't deserve to go through this alone. I told my parents and in-laws about the situation and asked for their support. So, apparently, Shane and Mimi are together now. He quit the company on his own, and now he's making me sign the divorce papers. Everyone was speechless. Then, my father-in-law started to speak after processing. Melanie, I am truly sorry for our stupid son. I don't expect you to forgive me. Matter of fact, you don't have to. Oh, Father. And unfortunately, I cannot forgive your sister either. You are like a daughter to me. I cannot forgive them for hurting my precious daughter. Everyone agreed with him in this. It was at that moment when all of us completely changed how we felt and thought about Shane and Mimi. My in-laws were considering moving into a new house at the time. After the situation, they claimed, I don't want anything to do with my son ever again, and they moved houses without telling him. My parents have also decided to cut ties with my sister. If she were to ever come back, they said they'd pretend as if they don't know her. Someone whose moral compass is so far gone that they'd take their sister's husband is no daughter of ours. That was their reasoning. So then, I decided to take this opportunity to go back home to my parents. I demanded alimony for them in exchange for going through with the divorce. Which he responded, you get the alimony when I get my divorce. But I eventually received several million yen in alimony with a message that followed, divorce me. As soon as the divorce was finalized, I cut all ties with Shane and Mimi. It's been 12 years since the divorce, and a lot has happened since then. My in-laws tore down the house we all lived in, and even sold the land. I have become more well-known as a web designer, and my salary is much higher than it used to be. Because of this, I'm able to travel regularly with my parents and live a fulfilling life. Today, while I was working, I received a call. I picked up without looking at the caller ID, assuming it was a client. But it instantly brought back bad feelings. It's been a long time, Melanie. How have you been? Shane? I knew you'd remember your ex-husband's voice. He's talking nonsense, just like before. What do you want? 12 years and now you want to talk? I could hear him chuckle. No, you're in my house. Get out within the next 10 minutes. What? What are you talking about? We're in some financial trouble. Anyway, I'm on my way there now. I'm bringing my wife home to my house. You can get out of my parents' house now. Apparently, he still thinks I'm living with his parents. He really thinks that after 12 years, things have cooled down and they'll finally be accepted. In the background, I hear, "That's right, get out of there," coming from my sister. But they really don't know. Do they really think that just because it's been 12 years, all is forgiven? The world is not that kind, and I will show them hell if I have to. But I took a deep breath and said, if you want to go home, go home. I'm not at your parents' house anymore. Oh, really? Did my dad kick you out? How dumb can you be? Your parents' house doesn't even exist anymore. Huh? What do you mean it doesn't exist anymore? Shane's voice started trembling with anxiety. At that exact moment, he pulled up to where the house used to be. He screamed, "What the hell?" And I could hear the anguish in his voice. I then continued, "As soon as you eloped, we decided to cut ties with you both. Your parents have moved out, and my parents completely disowned the woman you're with. There's nowhere for you to come back to." Are you kidding me? How is this even possible? Believe it or don't, be my guest. Your parents, my parents, and I don't consider you family. You aren't worthy enough since you both ruin people's lives. That's terrible. But Family! And who ruined your family? Don't ever call me again. I won't let you people ruin my life any more than you already have. As soon as I said that, I hung up and blocked the number. This time, I severed the last connection. After their failed trip to his parents' home, they decided to try my parents. But my parents already disowned her. My sister is sobbing loudly, to which my parents responded, "Who are you?" and completely ignored them at the gate. Then, they both got down on their knees and started to plead. "Please, parents, please forgive us. We have nowhere to go, please." Shane was following along with Mimi. "I'm begging you as well. My parents' house is gone. We have nowhere to go. Shut up. We don't care. You're not family anymore." That's right. He even sprinkled salt on the front door. "No, please, wait. No, please, I'm begging you. My father-in-law." "You don't get to call me that. Get out of here." They were so persistent that my father ended up sprinkling salt on them, and my mother called the cops for trespassing. They have not been seen since. Last I heard, they were jobless, homeless, and asking their friends for money. But by the time they came back, word of them had spread around, and no one was willing to lend them anything. Anyway, it's unlikely that they could even survive in their hometown. They'd have to start scratch from somewhere else. But they brought that on themselves. They sowed their seeds, and they'll have to suffer for it. Me and my parents, of course, will never see them again. And they will live the rest of their lives full of regret.